What is up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to It's a Bite UK. I've just got here at the Syndicate about half hour ago, just in time for the heavens to open up. Luckily enough, I managed to get the brolly system all set up and the kit inside dry, so I can tie some rigs. It means I've got to cast out in the rain and do some spodding in the rain, but it's all part of the sport, isn't it? Stick with us with this 24-hour session, and hopefully we'll bag up on some big fish. Right, guys, I've tied 3 of these rigs now. So what I've gone for is a Ronnie rig with a bait screw. As you'll see, I've got a large loop section where the swivel goes through. So what I'll do is I'll put the pop-up on, and then I'll critically balance it with the tungsten putty to pin it to the bottom. But it allows the hook section to move with the water, act a little bit more natural. The hook link section is semi-stiff, so it allows for any pickups. It'll drop and reset. I'm not really fishing in any hard situations where I need a soft section or like a real stiff section. So the semi-stiff works great in this setting. I've also used a smaller anti-tangle sleeve because I don't really need it to be pushed too far away from the lead. We'll be baiting over the top of it, so it'll all be confined in one area. So yeah, let's get these out and we'll see how we get on. Right, guys, before I put my rods out, I just want to show you my leg clip setup. So what I'm using here is a heli lead setup. So basically means that the rig runs up and down the leader, and it also saves any tangles when you're casting, so it can rotate around the lead and it saves tangling up on the cast. I fish my leaders with the bead on, so I can position it up or down the leader. So when the rig hits the water, it means that the rig can travel up the leader to a certain point, so it's not traveling too far away from where you're actually baited. These leaders are available on the website also. So you can see here, this one here is the camo green version, and we also do a mud brown version. Yeah, so I wouldn't go fishing without these anywhere. So it's the first rod, and I cast up to a small area where I seen some show fish earlier. So it's probably about 45, 50 yards out, nothing too far out. The area is quite a shallow area. Need to be 3-4 foot in the deepest area. I know it's an area that gets baited up a lot as part of the feeding program on the Syndicate, so hopefully it will prove a bite. Right, so we're going to put a bit of bait out over the first rod that we just put out. It's an area that I can't really reach with the catapult, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fill up the spawn and just put 2 or 3 spawns over it maximum. I don't want to bait too heavily in that area too soon, so just a couple of spawns should do it to build up a bit of a bed. So yeah, let's get some bait out. So whenever I'm spotting, I always use a bait station. You can use a couple of buckets, it just saves bending down, because whenever you're spotting, it can get quite tedious and really strenuous on your back, which you don't want to be uncomfortable when you're fishing, especially when we're doing longer sessions. It just makes your life a little bit easier. One more spawn for good luck, and then we'll concentrate on getting the other 2 rods out. Right guys, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be clipping up this second rod to 15 wraps. There's a nice little spot out in the middle that I know that you can get a decent bed of bait out and it'll attract the fish in. So what I'm doing is I'm wrapping it around 2 sticks, just so I know that it's going to be bang on that 15 wraps that we're aiming for. So we're on our 15 wraps now. What we're going to do is just attach it to the line clip there, and then keep in tension. You want to reel it back in. If you don't keep the tension on the line, you'll end up with a bird's nest when you cast out, or you'll end up with wind knots if you're using braid. So now that this rod's clipped up at 15, we know that our spod rod will need to be done the same to get the distance on it. Fishing in deeper waters, you've got to allow the extra just to allow the swing back. When spodding in longer distances, I like to use a finger stall because it saves cutting into your fingers, because there's nothing worse than fishing and cutting into your finger, because it makes your session really uncomfortable. There you go, so we're at 15 wraps there on the spod rod too. Turn that back over. And once again, keep tension on it. Otherwise, you'll end up the line coming off or wind knots, which ain't fun. So the bait that we're using on this particular session is a mix of pellets, and we've got some boilies in there, and also a good glug. Now these pellets and boilies have been glugged last week, so they've soaked into the bait. Using this sort of bait gets the bait to the bottom of the lake easier as well, a lot quicker too. Right, so where we're going is there's a couple of bushes over there, so with this rod, this will be my middle rod. You can see that a fish just jumped over in the middle. Right, let's get some spots out. Flip. It's very important when you're spotting to make sure you're standing in the same position and using the same markers, visual markers. So whether you're looking at a certain tree or whether it's a house in the background or something similar like that, it makes a difference when you're spotting at night as well. Especially when it comes to it getting darker. So flip, bang on where you want it to be. Right, another 2 spots, and then we'll get the rig out over the top. Hopefully, with the weather condition the way it is, we're due to a lot more rain, so the wind's going to pick up. It may move the fish around a bit, hence why I wanted to fish the centre of the lake by here. Now there are many other ways to bait up when you're fishing. You can fish solid bags, or where your rig and your lead are in a PDA bag. So it all presents tidy in one area. You tend to fish smaller baits when doing so. A lot of people use bait boats these days. Now there are many solutions. I myself prefer to use spod rod. I found that when I was fishing with a bait boat, I forgot I had to cast. So when it came to like more intimate water where you had to cast the spots or you cast and show the fish, you just weren't hitting either the distances or the right spots. So I reverted back to spodding. So some lakes you might find that spodding is a bit overkill, or it may even not work. It might spook the fish. So it's just all about reading the situation, reading the water, playing with what tools you've got. A lot of people use particles in their spod mixes. It's quite an inexpensive way of fishing. That's a good way of getting the fish grubbing around on your spot for longer periods of time. Once again, there are some lakes out there that have banned it because they find it non-beneficial to fish or biodiversity of the lake. Supportive is that there's a lot of vegetation going on and it's not being eaten by the fish, it's just rotting on the bottom of the lake. So yeah, just follow your lake's rules, guidelines, and speak with your bailiff on your lake. Or it won't. There we go. Bang on the spot. Take out the line clip, and then what I do, I'll walk whatever, make sure the line is sunken, especially in windy weather. If your line's not sunk, your alarms are just going to be going off every 5 minutes and you think you've got a fish, but it's just the water moving the line and it not being sunk properly. Right, so what I do now is I just adjust the drag to adjust the tightness of the line. I'll put my bobbin on and then adjust the line to suit, and then put the alarm on. Right guys, we're getting to the 12-hour mark now, so I've not had any bites as of yet. So I've just made a slight tweak. So my right hand rod that I was also fishing on the bottom, I've now changed. I've put it on an adjustable zig that is currently sat at 5 foot off the bottom. So what I've done now is I've got my zig and my bottom bait roughly on the same spot, and I've been spodding over the top of it now. So there's a bit of a mixture of baits. So with the pellets that are broken down and the crumb boilies, they're floating slower down towards the bottom, and then the whole boilies and chop boilies are at the bottom. So hopefully we'll get a bite, whether it be on the zig or on the bottom. Usually on this lake, I tend to fish better at night anyway. So most of the time in the day it's about building the swim and prepping everything ready for night, because when you get a bite they fight hard here. Alright guys, just had this absolutely savage hake. It's 1 o'clock in the morning and this absolutely screamed off. So this was my middle rod, the one that was 15 wraps out, and it was the Ronnie rig on the bottom. So hopefully we'll have another one now when we get this rod back out. Look at the scales on this one. Absolutely stunning fish. Good morning all. So I've got nothing else to report as of yet. I've got about another hour left of this session. So I had that £15.10 mirror in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock. I've not had anything since. So I'm just packing down slowly. It's still drizzling outside. So I'm just gonna get everything inside the brolly packed up, leave the rods out until last minute, you know, just for the chance of that bite. So yeah, fingers crossed we get a bite in the next hour. Right guys, thanks for joining me on this session. Unfortunately I didn't manage to catch another fish. Yeah, please do like, subscribe and follow me. I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and you can find me on Facebook. Our website is itsabiteuk.net, where you'll find the leaders, the merchandise, and all of the great stuff. Right, I'll catch you on the next adventure.